The last time this happened was with this Myron Rolle situation years ago, where I was put in a very up situation. I had to make a judgment call.
Okay.
And people have based my entire character off of this judgment call. People who have never been in this situation. But I did the best that I could with that situation. And I have been affirmed in that choice. But I think that what people fail to understand is that you be in scenarios where you got to make a judgment call.
Instantaneous. You don't have...
And you just doing the best that you got with something that doesn't have a blueprint.
Right.
And so now there's this whole narrative of Amanda Seales hates black men. That it has literally no water. If I hate black men, I want a refund. Some have said could have gotten him fired. So I say all that to say, if you are approached by Myron Rolle, you should just be mindful. I don't have empirical proof, but I've had enough women come forward saying that he was incredibly inappropriate with them, that I feel it would be inappropriate of me to not put the word out there that there is a man that is not being okay with them.
Sensational. What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? This is Mike Perkins, a.k.a. Man Bun Mike, a.k.a. Michael B. Podden, a.k.a. Me So Corny, one half of MVP, one half of Mike and Vince Perkins, one half of Opinions I Like Podcasts, and for this here, I am the whole show. You see the thumbnail, you see the title, little bit of a clippity clip, and so let's get into it. Amanda Seales, our favorite intersectional black feminist, cutie patootie, she was on Club Shay, and I'm gonna go to a specific part. Obviously, in there, it was when she was talking about the situation with Myron Rolle, and how that she sort of positioned that situation as her kind of being the victim, whereas she was in a bit of a pickle and she didn't kind of know what to do because, you know, it was a very peculiar situation, a very tough situation for her, and she didn't really know what to do, and she tried to do the best that she could. Look, what she essentially did was she put a man, a presumed innocent black man, who is a Rhodes Scholar, a doctor, I think a neurosurgeon, something like that, you know, but doctor, let's just go doctor. Myron Rolle, former NFL player, Rhodes Scholar, you know, law-abiding citizen, and she took his name and she put it next to sexual inappropriateness and predatory behavior. How she did it is that she went on a nationally syndicated radio show in the Breakfast Club and gave like 3 major clues as to who this person was, then went on her show and gave more clues, and women came forward and, you know, put 2 and 2 together and formed like Voltron to personally put this man's name next to sexual inappropriateness and degenerate predatory behavior. Now, the way that you handle that, and this is probably where she lost a lot of black men, but the way you handle that is pretty clear. The way you handle that is to say, hey, 8 women, because she said 8 women came forward. Hey, 8 women, why don't you go to the proper authorities or go to your HR department? Because some of these women, I remember her saying that some of these women worked with them. Why don't you go to the proper authorities and file a formal complaint against Myron Rolle? Why don't you go to the proper authorities, get a lawyer, and get a formal complaint against Myron Rolle? That's not what she did. What she did is she, without any proof, without any hardcore evidence, no first-hand knowledge even, these are DMs from random women that she doesn't know, At the very best, this is secondhand information. And she put this man's name next to sexual inappropriateness and predatory behavior. Now, when you do that, it's two things that can happen. Let's assume that the women are telling the truth. Cool? We're going to assume that the women were telling the truth. All 8 women, or, whatever, how many. If they are actually telling the truth, what you did is that you gave Myron Rolle, a guy who would be guilty of sexual inappropriateness and predatory behavior, you gave him a place to hide. Because you didn't have any proof and those women did not come forward, you gave him a space to be the victim. They're accusing me. There's no real evidence. She's just mad because me and her ain't kicking it and I didn't give her a relationship like she wanted. You gave him a space to hide because all he has to do is 1, deny it, and then 2, make it about you being mad because you all didn't get into a relationship. Right? That's the first thing you do. If he's actually guilty and those women are telling the absolute truth. Right? Right. If he didn't do anything and those women are lying, then what you do is you disrupt an innocent man's life. People don't think you hate black men. People have evidence. People have evidence. Somebody who doesn't hate black men doesn't put men in that kind of predicament. Especially not men who they've never met. Especially not men who they've never had an interaction with the exception of, DM and phone and text. Not a person they've never met, they've never met. That they can't gauge their personality or gauge their tendencies. People don't think you hate black men. They kind of got a good read on it. There's enough information out there, and that for me was probably when you lost black men. It's probably when you lost black men, most black men, because the context of the black male experience is the false accusation. It's just, generally speaking, it was white women. So Dick Rowland, obviously, with the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacres, a 19-year-old young man who was accused of being sexually inappropriate or sexually assaulting a white woman in closed corridor, which started the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacres. Emmett Till was accused of whistling at a white woman, and we know what came from that. The Central Park Five were all accused of grape, and we know what came of that. The context and plenty more in that time span as well. But the context, part of the context of the black male experience and the black male existence is the false accusation. It's just that historically, it's usually been white women. When a black woman does it, it's still white supremacy by any other name, by any other hand. The level of white supremacy is still being touched and it's still being pulled. Doesn't matter if it's a black woman or I don't know. But it doesn't matter if it's a black woman that's doing it. It doesn't matter if it's a woman who has done the work, who has went to school for African American studies and got a master's degree. I don't know why. I don't really know why. But it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is if this man is actually guilty of what you said he was guilty of which, again, you did a very slick, clever thing by saying, I didn't technically say his name. That's being intellectually dishonest. We know what you were trying to say. I didn't accuse him of anything. You're being intellectually dishonest. We know what you were trying to say. And when you put stuff out there and then you get things like death threats, again, I don't want anybody to have death threats. I don't want anybody to be fearful of their life. But you had to know that doing and saying something like that, however clever you thought you were when you did it, you have to understand that everybody ain't going. Everybody ain't going. I'm sure LeBron James gets death threats. Everybody ain't going. You can't put yourself in that kind of predicament and then expect for people to like roll with you. And the way you position that story, to date, like, somehow you're the victim, it's very, that's very, it's like, you just rewriting history. That's not what happened. You spoke confidently about this man being sexually inappropriate and exhibiting predatory behavior. And we should check him out. That would be like if I was chilling at the store and then you just pointed at me and said, hey, somebody should really, really check to see if he's stealing. I'm not saying he is stealing, but I think we should check and see if he is stealing. What kind of shit is that? Do you understand that the context of our existence is presumed guilt? It's just walking around. You walk in the store, presumed guilt. You doing something. Let's go over there and check him out. You as a woman don't have to deal with that. You don't have presumed guilt. And some would say, well, it's presumed that we're lying. Ma'am, you're not helping that. I think that man now has a wife and kids and has since then not committed any crimes because, he's not a criminal. And because he's not a criminal and hadn't been a criminal, do you think that makes you look good? And nobody deserves death threats. I mean, it's just not what nobody deserves that. Absolutely nobody deserves that. But why would you think that anything else would happen? What do you think's supposed to happen? And she's the kind of woman to say that we live in a patriarchy. If we live in a patriarchy, an actual patriarchy, and you do something like that, what do you think happens? You think you keep a career? Do you think you keep a career? I don't think so. I don't think in an actual patriarchy you get to walk around with a career. What we have to do is we have to kind of separate the notion or the idea that, because a lot of people are running with the narrative that she lied on this man. And it's not that she lied. I think that saying that she lied, it undermines what she tried to do. What she did essentially, like for example, black men and false accusations. False accusations are not the only thing. The more sinister thing is false narrative. To plainly say somebody, he raped somebody. To plainly say that would be clear and, maybe not as damaging, maybe more damaging, but I think that, if he's never actually committed a specific crime, I think that, that's one of those things that can be like, just prove that he didn't do it if he didn't, whatever. But a blatant lie can be disproven, and it's one of those things where you can kind of, it's more cut and dry. What she did, though, is she created narrative. She created propaganda, which is a lot more dangerous than just simply saying he did this thing. You know what I mean? So she put his name next to sexual inappropriateness and predatory behavior. And because she did that, she gets to say, I didn't lie on that man. I was just bringing awareness. It would be like if I walked into a store and some white woman decides, hey, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to just bring awareness to this black man who may be stealing. toward me. I don't have a history of stealing. I'm not doing anything. And we just randomly say, hey, this guy right here, he might be stealing. I'm not saying that he did steal, but I'm saying that he might be stealing, you know, and we should just, you know, if you see Michael around, you should really, you know, be concerned and just, you know, like that kind of thing is not like it's as if you're smarter than the listener. It's as if you're just smarter than the listener. And I don't believe that you are. I believe you think you are. I believe she thinks she is. But I don't think that she's smarter than the listener. It's like, oh, there's a such thing as lies of implication. Like when you imply something, it's intellectually dishonest to say that that's not what she was doing. That's what she was doing. She was putting his name next to something that he would otherwise, if you never said anything, he would have his name next to. That's where you lost black men. You didn't lose black men because somehow we just made something up. No, you did what you did. And even though you didn't concretely and definitively say he did this, the idea that you can put a man's name next to something that he wasn't ever accused of, that nobody came forward in doing, and then say you're vindicated in making that decision, which is, you know, again, it's one of those things where you absolve yourself of any kind of apology or making any kind of apology or absolve yourself of any wrongdoing, you know, personally, just like you can just personally diagnose yourself with autism. That's crazy. You know, sidebar. I'm autistic, you know, sidebar, by the way. He says she's autistic. I don't think that anybody should be able to just do that, but however it goes, that's where she lost black men. She lost black men there when she put that man's name next to sexual inappropriateness and predatory behavior. Now, did she commit a crime in saying that? No, not necessarily. I don't think technically it's defamation of character, because obviously she can say, well, I didn't say his name and I didn't do this and I didn't do this. But that means you think you're smarter than the user. That means you think you're smarter than the user. You're smarter than men who can just look at that and say, hey, this is what you did. You know, but that's my time, man. You know, again, I know that people are gonna have a field day with her and that interview, because, you know, people don't like you. People don't like you. It just is what it is. Nobody has to like you. But, you know, certainly she didn't do herself any favors on that interview. I think a lot of people, you know, are kind of seeing the things that other people say. You know what I mean? And not to say it was even a bad interview. It's just, yeah, if it's always somebody else and it's never you, then like, yeah. Is that really like, you know, you're 40 something years old, it ain't never been you? That's crazy. You know, but that's my time, man. I really, really appreciate the bump in subscribers, the bump in, you know, in the in the views and things of that nature, man. Just keep supporting, man. Trying to get to 1,000, baby. Trying to get to 1,000. I want some diamonds too. I want to join in on the gang, on the gang, on the monetized gang. You know, so help a brother out. Hit me with a like, hit me with a sub. You know what I'm saying? Share it, comment, you know, and let me know. All right, this is Mike Perkins, and I am out.